see where it's got camera?
Yeah, I got, and then it pulls up me, but then it has all talking or none.
Oh, you should be able to choose everyone.
Okay. And then how do I make, oh, there it goes. Okay. Can you see me? No.
Not yet.
Okay.
The meeting's live though.
Okay. All right. At least I can get who's talking. So we're going to call the meeting to order.
This conference will now be recorded.
What on earth? I have no idea.
Somebody has their speaker up too loud, so it's echoing.
I think they're
Or they're using two sources. Or it's coming through their phone and through their computer. Now we can see you.
I'm here.
I didn't know you'd be able to see me, or I would have dried my hair.
I debated going cameraless and putting on my pajamas.
Uh-huh.
So-
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't do that.
So
Okay.
Jeremy gave us the heads up. We are live.
Okay, I heard that, and I'm looking to see, do we have, I'm missing someone. Councilman Hopkins, are you on there?
Yes, I am.
All right, and Kelsey. So Cinda, we will go
Yeah.
ahead and call this meeting to order, April 2nd, 2020, pardon me.
Go ahead.
We're going to call this meeting to order, April 2nd, 2020. We are doing an online meeting as a response to COVID-19. Cinda, will you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Hopkins,
Present.
Councilmember Freilich,
Present.
Councilmember Malcolm,
Present.
Councilmember Gordon,
Present.
Councilmember Brockert,
Present.
Councilmember Gendrich, Councilmember Brackett,
Present.
7 present, 0 absent, Your Honor.
Thank you, Cinda. I need to ask everybody once again to please bear with us as we try to navigate the world of virtual meetings, which is not always an easy feat to make happen. So we are going to be following a little bit different of a schedule tonight. And you'll notice that if you have something to say, if you could say it into the chat boxes, and I'll try to keep an eye on that. But there will be a time for communications, and I will make sure to stop and ensure that everybody gets a chance to talk if they so choose. So we are going to start tonight's agenda. We've already had the call to order and the roll call. We're going to skip the Pledge of Allegiance until we're together once again. And we are going to move to communications. So this is the time I would ask anybody who has joined us online or on the telephone, if there's anything that you would like to speak to council about regarding something that's not already on tonight's agenda. Is there anyone? I'm hearing nothing and I'm seeing nothing in the chat. So we will continue. We are on number 5. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes items 6A through D, items 8A through K, items 9A, items 12A through G, items A through F, which are all of the action items from our March 19th of 2020 City Council meeting. We wanted to ensure that we touched all bases We all know that online meetings, things can get missed, and we wanted to cover all bases. So we added that into the consent agenda just to make sure that everything was covered. And we are also approving tonight's bills, which total $1,926,244.83. I would ask for a motion, and please start by saying this is, and whoever you are makes a motion.
This is Councilman Brackett, and I did have one question though before making the motion. Did all the council members receive the email from Alan Harvey regarding the one item in the consent agenda that he had questions about?
Yes, I did.
And does anybody want to pull that from the consent agenda to discuss it?
Yes.
This is Councilman Malcolm. Yes, I'd like to pull that from the consent agenda and talk about it.
Okay, so I would move that we pull that item from the consent agenda and otherwise move to accept the consent agenda.
Please state the letter number of that item.
That is item 8D. D is in Delta.
Okay. So, do I have a second?
Second.
Please state what your name is, and count. Okay. So we have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Gendrich to approve tonight's consent agenda with item 8D removed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, this motion carries, and we will continue down to 7A. We have one public hearing tonight regarding the vacation of a portion of alley right-of-way located in Block 29 of the original town. The city of Muscatine is currently reconstructing the 2nd Street and Mulberry Avenue intersection into a roundabout. As part of this project, additional right-of-way had to be acquired from a number of adjoining property owners, including from HNI and DeCook. As part of the agreements for the city to acquire the right-of-way needed for the roundabout project, the city agreed to vacate and convey to HNI Corporation and DeCook Anita Limited Liability Corporation the portions of the alley right-of-way that no longer serve a current or public or future use. Now is the time for the public to comment. I am not hearing any.
Motion to close.
I'm not hearing any comments, and I do not see anything in the chat. Councilman Hopkins has made a motion to close. Do I have a second?
Councilwoman Brockert.
We have a motion by Councilman Hopkins with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? This motion carries for item 7A. We are now on item 8D, and we have a request for use of city property from the Vineyard Church for a church service in the parking lot across from City Hall on April 12th of 2020. Do we have discussion on this item?
Yes, Your Honor, this is Councilman Malcolm. Under our current, also, Mr. Harvey, Alan Harvey, sent an email that I received, and I have to agree with some of the concerns. 2 weeks ago, I probably wouldn't have objected or been really overly concerned about it. But currently, as things seem to be escalating and taking a life of its own, I'm concerned, even though this is a church service that will be held for people sitting in their cars, I'm concerned for just general safety. If something happens, law enforcement, fire department, ambulance, people have to get involved. Now this just went to a whole new level. And just in the light of everything escalating, more people coming down with this problem in the past 24 hours, and it's still on the rise, I'm uncomfortable with agreeing to this.
Is there anyone else?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman
Go ahead,
Brockert.
Councilwoman. Go ahead.
I think this goes back to the separation of church and state issue. If we allow the Vineyard Church to do something like this, then we've opened ourselves up to allow other churches, other religious groups to do the same thing. They already have their own parking lot. Why do they think they need to use the city parking lot?
I would just respond. We already do allow other churches. We've allowed National Day of Prayer out on the front lawn of City Hall. And there are a variety of church groups that use city property occasionally. But I hear what you're saying, Councilwoman Brockert, certainly. Is there anyone else?
Mayor?
Somebody beat me to it, so maybe let them go first. I do want to speak on it, but I can go last.
All right, this is Rich Grimes with Parks and Rec. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I have been working with the Vineyard Church with this program, and he has taken every step that the governor has required to assure safety of the citizens, and he has had events in the past on that sidewalk. So I think he's taken all the steps and he's meeting the requirements that the state is requiring, and that's why we kept it on the agenda for your consideration, just so you all know that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else?
Yes, this is Councilman Brackett. I don't have an issue with the, normally I wouldn't have an issue with this if there was some other reason they needed to utilize the parking lot, because that's not an issue for me, but the, just the sheer likelihood that this could increase exposure for folks is a pretty big concern for me. And in looking over their document that they provided, they are talking about nobody getting out of their vehicles, and but there's going to be a band, there's going to be a stage, and all of that takes multiple people to set up, and I've got concerns about that. So, Rich, maybe you could answer this question: with the stage that they have that they're going to use, do you know anything about it, and whether or not it's something that a minimum amount of people can set up?
Yes, this is Rich with Parks and Rec. I can guarantee you that Ray will do whatever you ask. It's an Easter service, and he just wants to be able to have a presentation for his parish.
Hey, Rich, is it okay for me to interject?
Yes, please.
This is John, and Rich, you're getting a definitive reassurance that the church is going to follow all recommendations for safety standards with the coronavirus concern and so forth.
We have done many events over the years with the Vineyard Church, and Ray has been the person in the lead, and we've never had an issue with him following through on every component that we've asked. But I will inform him whatever you decide, just that he's gone through many conversations with me and has recognized that there is a potential issue, but it is Easter that he just wants to be able to present.
Are you comfortable with this, Rich?
I am comfortable with this.
Your Honor.
Excuse me, Rich, I'm sorry, but in a lot of ways there are a lot of people going in and out of our grocery stores and so forth. And if, precautions are being taken and so forth, I guess, this information from Rich is somewhat compelling for me. I understand the concerns from Councilman Malcolm and the others too, but I guess, from the reassurance that we have from Rich, I guess I'm leaning toward, we should let them go ahead and have their service. But I can certainly, hear from everyone for sure.
Councilman Freilich?
Yes, I was just wondering if this sets a precedent, as far as I'm concerned, if we allow them to do it, even though I don't have concerns about them doing it, why doesn't any other church not be able to request the same thing in their own church parking lots? I think this could become a pretty big spread among all churches, because right now no churches are open. So between now and then, it could be a lot of churches having services out in the parking lot. Just my thought.
Your Honor, once again, Osmond Malcolm, all all this is normally nice, and me being an ordained minister, I understand Pastor Ray's desire to do this, but I was like, okay, what happens if you got all these people in their cars in the parking lot, and somebody has to go to the bathroom? Where are they going? Does everybody drive over to come and go and use the washroom? Do they go into church and do this? Now we're losing the spread that needs to be available. I'm still uncomfortable with this. Most churches I know are having live streaming. They're doing Facebook services. They go to Zoom, do Zoom meetings, which I recommend for us because Zoom is easier to use, and it's free. There are lots of other ways to accomplish this. Sitting in a parking lot outside during a pandemic is not really a good idea from my perspective. I'm just too afraid that something bad will happen.
Councilman Hopkins here.
Please
I seem to be the
continue.
I seem to be the only member of this city council that is also a member of Vineyard, and I don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
Councilman Hopkins, this is Councilman Brockert. Do you know if your pastor contacted any of the other churches, like New Hope, to use their parking lot rather than a city parking lot? Because ours is at least as big as that city lot, and we will not be using our sanctuary on Easter Sunday.
Are we using the parking lot on Easter Sunday?
Well, that's what. No, New Hope will not be. The bishop has closed the church.
My question is the city of Muscatine using that parking lot on Easter Sunday?
Probably not, to my knowledge. Rich?
This is Rich. There are no current requests to use public property in that parking lot at this time. And it would be too late after your meeting to approve it anyway because you wouldn't have another council meeting. And the event he's asking for is 30 minutes long. 30 minutes.
Anyone else?
This is Councilman Brackett. I just want to go back to this for just a second. So, my biggest concern with it, and Councilman Malcolm touched on it, is that, even though it's a 30-minute service, that, if you have 50 cars in a parking lot, there presumably are going to be some children that are in those cars. And I don't know about the rest of you, but most of the times I've been to church where there's children, they don't necessarily sit still. And so my concern would be then we have kids jumping out of cars and running around the parking lot, which in the 30-minute time frame may not be very likely. I don't know. But this does just to me seem like, we're saying 50 cars, each car can hold, anywhere between 2 to 6 people, depending on the type of vehicle. That is a lot of potential people. How many, I don't know what the size of this church normally is. So maybe
Councilman Brackett, you're probably looking at 20 cars.
Okay. Well, the request is for 50 plus vehicles. That's why I was referencing that.
Understand.
So I guess
Is there any other comments?
I'm on the fence about it, but I do think it's probably not the best idea at this time.
Is there any other comments? Hearing none, I'm going to ask, is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve this event?
Councilman Hopkins, I make the motion. We approve this event.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor. Councilman
We have a
Gendrich.
motion by Councilman Hopkins with a second by Councilman Gendrich. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. So I'm going to ask for a voice vote since I didn't hear a consensus of everyone. Councilman Freilich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Nay.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon? Aye. Councilwoman Brockert?
And on the fence, aye.
Councilman Brackett,
I'm gonna have to go with public safety and say no.
and Councilman Hopkins.
Aye.
The motion carries and the event is approved. We are now on number 9.
Thank you,
And
council.
the mayor has, pardon me?
Thank you, council.
Thank you. We are now on number 9, and there is one proclamation for National Public Safety Commuters Week. I'm not going to try to read that tonight since we are online. Certainly, we want to thank all of our E911, our MUSCOM people for all of the work that they do on a daily basis. This will be printed and put online for everyone to read. Can we get out a proclamation in the form of a press release for this, Greg, for all of our people?
Yes, I think we can.
Thank you. I want to make sure that they get recognized, but I understand the awkwardness of the online meeting, and they wouldn't get the recognition from that, certainly. And they deserve every bit of it, especially in light of our current climate. So that was item 9. We are now moving on down to 11A. We have presented for City Council's consideration the first reading of an ordinance approving the vacation of alley right-of-way in Block 29 of the original town. And that's what we talked about in our public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance as submitted? Councilman Gordon? Councilwoman Gordon made the motion, and Councilman Freilich seconded it? Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Correct. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilman Freilich, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilwoman Gordon? Aye. Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
And Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
The motion carries, and I would like to back up just a bit. I see that Chris Jasper, who is our MUSCOM manager and is working tirelessly right now to protect all of us, to follow all the protocol and make sure that we're all safe and respond to every one of our calls for assistance, both from police and fire and everything in between. Chris would like to thank the mayor and council for their recognition of their hardworking and dispatch staff, and I just want to remind everyone that we absolutely have to thank them and keep them all in our prayers. Thank you, Chris, for all you do. We are going to continue on with Kelsey. All of a sudden, it shows everybody paused.
Not me. I mean, everything's moving for me still.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. All right.
My problem,
It might have had something, like Kevin moved were presented and
I
then
see
unpresented a couple of times, and that might have tweaked.
It looks like that's what it was. All right, we're going to continue on, and again, big thanks to Chris Jasper and all his staff. Watch for that full proclamation to come out. We're on 11B. Presented for City Council's consideration is the first reading of an ordinance amending the rental housing code and relocating the rental housing code and other specific sections of the city code relating to the regulation of property maintenance to a newly created title within the city code. Title 16, Rental Housing and Property Maintenance Regulations. Do I have a motion to approve the first reading of this ordinance as submitted?
This is Councilman Brackett, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Councilman Freilich seconds.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Freilich. Excuse me. Thought I was going to sneeze. All right. Councilwoman Gordon, how do you vote? Aye. Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich,
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins,
Aye.
Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
Motion carries with all ayes. We are now on 11C, and we have, at the March 15th, 2020 meeting, Council approved the resolution setting the date and time for receiving bids on the estimated $6,310,000 in general obligation corporate purpose bonds series 2020 for April 2nd. And that was at 10 a.m. Susan Gerlach with Public Financial Management and the city's financial advisor for this issue is on the call to review the bids and make a recommendation for the award of this issue.
Yes, good evening, Your Honor and Council. This
Good
is
evening.
Suzanne.
Please continue.
Okay, this afternoon, I believe Nancy submitted the tabulation of bids. We did have a Plan A and a Plan B. As everybody knows, the municipal bond market's a little choppy right now. Some ups and downs going on. So we did have a Plan A to go out with our normal competitive sale. To report that we received 8 bids from 38 different firms. So that's excellent. Our goal with a competitive sale is to get at least 3 bids. And we did receive 8 bids today. The cost ranges from 1.71% to 2.7% over all 8 different bids. The winning bid came from UMB Bank that bid in conjunction with Community Bank and Trust, the local bank. The winning bid was at 1.71%, which is actually in the budget process. PFM had estimated an interest rate of just right at 2%, and so very happy to report to the City Council that the winning bid today came in 30 basis points under our projection. When we look at the pricing, 11 basis points over the AAA MMD index, which is excellent pricing. And we did structure the budget a little bit to match the city's budgeted fiscal 21 pre-levy. That would have been the amount you budget in your tax rate for your debt service levy. We did restructure to match that, and we also restructured a little bit to match the December TIF certification for the portion paid by TIF. And throughout the bond issuance process, also Moody's Investor Service affirmed the city's AA2 rating. So congratulations again to all of Moody's rating.
Thank you.
And does anyone have any questions for me about the results before I make a recommendation?
Please continue.
Okay. And just also to report, we were looking at to see if bank loans, how that auction would play out. The bank loan was not a cheaper option today. We did get a firm offer from a bank at a 1.82, but the market rate was the winning bid today. So with that, PFM recommends that the City of Muscatine award the $6,310,000 general obligation corporate purpose bond series 2020 to UMB Bank out of Kansas City, Missouri, at a true interest cost of 1.7137%.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
This is Councilman Brackett, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Councilman Malcolm.
Councilwoman Gordon. We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Councilwoman Gordon, then, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert.
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm.
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich.
Aye.
Councilman Freilich.
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins.
Aye.
Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
This resolution is adopted with all ayes. Thank you, Ms. Gerlach, and thank you to Nancy for the work on this opportunity with this bond. We are going to not do 11D since we had bid and move on down to 11E. We have completed the budget process for fiscal year 2021 in February. As part of the review, the revised estimate revenue and expenditure amounts for the current year were also reviewed by the City Council. Each year, these revised estimate amounts become amendment number 1 to our current year budget. The public hearing on the budget amendment was originally scheduled for March 19th, but because of the COVID-19 event, and the meeting was changed to this format. So there were several issues with the call-in, and we decided to continue that on down. So now I need a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted. To set the public hearing, actually, I'm going to reread part of this because it doesn't really say when we're setting the public hearing for.
No, it doesn't.
So the public hearing should be set for the first meeting in May, are we looking at, Greg? Or the second meeting in April?
It's the second meeting in April.
Okay.
April 6th.
So, April 16th
Yes. Yes.
at 7 o'clock, and it will not be in council chambers. It will be, since the governor moved everything and continued the emergency proclamation to carry through until April 30th for any gatherings of 10 or more people. That means both council meetings this year and perhaps the in-depth as well will all be on the phone. So this resolution is setting the public hearing for the city's fiscal year 19-20 amendment number 1 to April 16th at 7 p.m. on a virtual call-in. And do I have a motion to approve that? Councilman Brackett, yes?
Yes.
And who would like to second that?
Councilman Freilich.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Freilich. Councilwoman Gordon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert.
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm.
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich.
Aye.
Councilman Freilich.
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins.
Aye.
And Councilman Brackett.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted with all ayes and the public hearing has been set. Next, we have a similar issue with the 2021 budget. We completed this budget review process in early February, and beginning with fiscal year 2021, 2 public hearings are now required for City Council to adopt that annual budget. Of course, we rescheduled the March 5th one. So after that action on March 5th, we set a public hearing for hearing number 2 on the adoption of the budget, and that was scheduled for March 19th. We had a similar issue as we just did with the amendment number 1 to the current budget. So we are rescheduling this public hearing for fiscal year 2021 budget. That's 2020/2021. Need to say that more precise. Until April 16th at 7 o'clock in a virtual meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution to set the public hearing?
So moved, Your Honor.
Councilman Brackett.
And second, was that you, Nadine?
Yes.
So we have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilwoman Brockert. Councilman Gordon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and the public hearing is set. We are now on 11G, and we have presented for City Council's consideration a resolution setting a public hearing for April 16th. Well, that'll be public hearing number 3 regarding the plans, specifications, forms of contracts, and estimated cost for the municipal airport taxiway A. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Hopkins,
Councilman
so moved.
Councilman Gendrich and Councilman Hopkins, was that you?
Correct.
We have a motion by Councilman Gendrich with a second by Councilman Hopkins. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Councilwoman Gordon, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Aye.
Councilman Malcolm?
Aye.
Councilman Gendrich?
Aye.
Councilman Freilich?
Aye.
Councilman Hopkins?
Aye.
Councilman Brackett?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted and this public hearing is also set. Next, we are on 11H. Nestle Purina Pet Care Company of Davenport has submitted a beneficial use agreement to begin delivery of packaged and loose organic material to the Muscatine Organics Recycling Center, MORC, as John calls it. The agreement has been vetted and approved by the city attorney for approval. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
This is Councilman Brackett. So moved, Your Honor.
Second by Councilman Malcolm.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Malcolm. Is there any discussion?
I don't know. Is John on the call?
He should be. Greg, is John on the call? Greg,
I
are
didn't
you
really have
on the
any
call?
questions. My only question was going to be to ask him if he wanted to give us any additional information that might have been hard to decipher in the legalese of the document, but I didn't really have any questions beyond that. So if he's not on the call, that's fine for me.
Greg, are you on
Here
the
I
call?
am. I am on the call. I had on mute.
Can
So,
you have asked John to send a little more of a description to us
I
via
will.
email, please? Thank
Yep.
you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the request is approved. We are on 11I. Presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order to Sampson Fence in the amount of $28,580 for the installation of the fencing for the soccer complex expansion area. There's $76,000 approved in the budget for multiple fence projects in the city parks. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
Councilman Freilich, so moved.
And a second? Second by Gordon. We have a motion by Councilman Freilich with a second by Councilwoman Gordon. Is there any discussion? Hearing nothing. All in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? The request is approved then with all ayes. We are now on 11J. We have presented for City Council's consideration a request to approve the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $13,916 to Nelson Electric for the necessary electrical repairs to the Mississippi Harvest statue area. Funding for this project will be from FEMA, the state of Iowa, as well as the city. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor. Councilman Brackett.
We have a motion by Councilman Hopkins. Do I have a second?
Second,
Yeah, second by Councilman Brackett, or John Gendrich had one. John and I were tied, so.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion by Councilman Hopkins with a second by Councilman Gendrich. Before I ask for a vote, I have a chat. I want to make sure it doesn't apply to this. And all it says is April 16th. Okay, so we're done with that. All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Hopkins and a second by Councilman Gendrich to approve the request for the issuance of the purchase order to Nelson Electric. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Your Honor, I didn't
Hearing
oppose.
no-
Your Honor, this is Councilman Malcolm.
Yes.
I didn't vote aye or oppose. I have one question.
Okay.
We have the amount, and we know that the state and FEMA and the city are paying, but there's no breakdown on how much that is. I'd like to know what the cost for the city is. And is this amount being equally divided in thirds between the three parties, which I very seriously doubt. And so I'd like to know, FEMA's going to pay how much, state is giving how much, and how much is it coming out of the city money? I'm curious.
It looks like a public works thing. Is Brian on the call?
It's actually a Parks and Rec thing.
Oh, okay, then go ahead, Rich.
This is Rich,
No?
Parks and Rec, and Nancy can jump in if I mess this up, but FEMA is 75%, state is 10%, city is 15%.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
and
what,
The 15% is $2,087.
thank you, Ms. Nancy.
You're welcome.
Is there any other discussion? Did I forget to ask for discussion on that before I went to the vote? Very possible.
Yeah.
Hearing nothing else then. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Thank you. This request is approved then with all ayes. Next, we're on 11K, and we have a request to approve the City of Muscatine COVID-19 paid time off policy that was recently submitted to all the council, outlaying some of the changes to our staff's paid time off. Do I have a motion to approve the request as submitted?
Councilman Brackett, so moved, Your Honor.
Do I have
Second by
a second?
Councilman Malcolm.
Maybe a discussion?
We have a motion. Yeah, in a minute.
Okay.
We have a motion by Councilman Brackett with a second by Councilman Malcolm. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, John.
Well, with the, the recent declaration, emergency till the 30th, I wondered if it was just appropriate to mention if Greg and Human Resources, the council to consider, maybe being a little bit expeditious or some foresight and just going ahead and extending this till April 30th. Just a thought.
Well, I think that within the plan it can be. Greg, do you want to explain?
Well, we had initially put it into the end of the initial proclamation by the governor. And by doing that and the hours that we allotted for that for a full-time employee, if they had found themselves off for the duration from the time that was implemented, those hours would have been covered. Every day that goes by now, we're carving back into what hours we would need, but to get out that extra few weeks, we would have to add a significant amount of hours to make the full coverage of the hours applied, but we can extend this till the 30th, I believe, without any real issue. It's just a matter of we will have to come back and talk about how we're going to cover the hours if we should happen to get out there at that point. This is the basis for this is the federal government's laws relative to paid time off for those reasons that are listed there, and those are in effect through the year. And so there's a 2-week allowance by the federal government, so that's going to go on through December. So that's still going to be in place. It's just a matter of the extra hours that we applied from the city to go on top of the federal government's allotment. And we'd like to just hold that where it is for the time being and revisit it as the need arises.
I think that's, some input that probably best just to let Greg manage that and ask for his confidence and so forth, or to give him our confidence to do what he's has just explained. So that's a good answer from my part.
Thank you.
I know the department heads and have worked with Greg on this to make sure that everything was covered, and we certainly want to protect our staff as much as we possibly can through this crisis. Who else? Did someone else say something?
Yes, Councilwoman Brockert. Excuse me. Greg and I had a conversation one day last week or early this week about making this particular policy retroactive to perhaps February 15th or March 1st. Is that something that we could do?
We'd want to understand what the impact of what is laid out would be at that juncture.
Mm-hmm.
We could take a look at it. I hadn't really moved beyond that portion. I mean, we were set for moving
Is there a
forward with
need
where
for
we
that,
were.
Nadine?
I was told by someone that I am related to that works in public works who was off with, it could have been COVID-19. It was probably just a bad case of the flu and a cold, but he was off for several days and he said he felt good, and then he called in to talk to his supervisor, and the supervisor said, well, maybe I'll just take the rest of the week off. And that was on a Tuesday. So he was kind of hoping, and that cited another individual in the same department that was off for about the same reasons, the same length of time. And they don't mind
Greg, I don't
taking sick leave, but
Sure.
you know, if they could get it back because they were told they probably ought to stay home, then it would seem to me only fair to at least recompense the 3 days that were missed rather than maybe the whole thing.
Did did the federal guidelines have a start date?
April 1.
April 1. So we wouldn't be able to, the reason that this has all been done this way is because the federal government is going to is having the employers cover sick time for people up to 2 weeks. And then the government is going to backfill us for those 2 weeks. So if it was before April 1, then we wouldn't be repaid for those.
I see.
Well, the government's not repaying us for those. Private industry is going to get a tax credit for what they do, but we're not going to enjoy that tax credit. We are going to be out those extra costs.
Well, there was one part in the CARES, I read one part in the CARES Act. I'd have to go back and revisit it. And my understanding of it was that we would get some kind of reimbursement for those. Are you thinking that only applies to private and not to municipalities?
The tax credits are for private businesses. Yeah. I'd have to go. I don't know of anything in the CARES Act.
And I could have misread it. It could very well be. Well, if that's the case, if we're not relying on the repayment of those, then I wouldn't see. Did you even have a start date listed in this pay plan?
Yeah, we started it last Friday, actually.
So does the plan actually say beginning?
Yeah, March 27th.
March 27th. Okay. Well, I wouldn't know why we couldn't just go forward with it as written and ask Greg to look at individual circumstances like that, and couldn't those just be applied individually?
I appreciate that.
That would be satisfactory, I think.
Okay.
Because there wouldn't be any sense changing the whole thing for one or two people if just apply those individually.
Right.
Yeah,
Are there any other questions or comments? Yes, but certainly they should be, if anybody, in the short time prior to this had an incident that they think could apply, they need to talk to their supervisor, and then they could run it through you, Greg.
It's planned.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. I did have one more.
Any other comments?
Yes, this is Councilman Brackett. I wanted to say one more thing on this. I would encourage staff to be considerate of people's situations on this when they're reviewing the individual situation, so that way we don't have to come back and talk about it again as far as things that fall before this. If people were told that they couldn't come in, I applaud those supervisors for that action. However, I would, not like to see people lose out due to this being outside of their control. So I would ask that staff be take that into consideration. But I would like to thank any supervisors who had the foresight to say, you cough, please don't come in. So that is what, that is one way to help stop the spread of this. And I do appreciate that. So that's understood. I would encourage staff to bring something back to us before the last meeting, before the last meeting in April, so that we can, if we need to cover anything beyond that, we can. But I don't want to make any changes in front of us tonight.
I think we'll be pretty tight look at it.
Thank you.
So, Cinda, did we already get a motion on this?
Cinda, you're muted.
Hello, Cinda.
Cinda?
Yes,
Okay.
we had the motion.
I'm here. No, I do not have one.
I don't have one written on my notes. I don't know how we jumped through to discuss
All right,
this.
well, I'll make a motion.
Yes, we had Brackett and Malcolm before we had discussion.
Oh, okay. Then we did. Okay, then all in favor say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? The request is approved. We are on 11L, and Councilman Gendrich had something he wanted to request. Councilman Gendrich, please go ahead.
Mayor, Council, I've got, I think on the, pretty sure, the May in-depth meeting, we were going to visit further about the pit bull ordinance. And I am going to be out of town. So I'd like the council to, consider setting up some other time frame to discuss the pit bull issue. It's a situation, I apologize for making that suggestion at our last regular meeting, and suggesting that we move that discussion on out. This situation that I'm involved with has been planned for several months. It's just an oversight on my part. If there's some other strategy or discussion or whatever that we can do with the pit bull issue, and I'm open for suggestions, but I am going to be out of town on the May in-depth meeting.
So is council agreeable to making sure that whenever we do the pit bull discussion, and it doesn't have to be at an in-depth meeting, it could be at the tail end of one of our regular meetings, or it could be at the June in-depth. But, and we don't have to set that date right now, but is council willing to make sure to schedule it anytime other than the second week in May for the in-depth, so that Councilman Gendrich is able to attend? Is there any opposition to that?
No.
I would just ask that it be the first meeting that we can have in person again.
Oh, yes,
We
already agreed to
That was what we discussed at the last one. Whether or not an individual, and this is nothing against John, but whether or not an individual council member can be present for that discussion, if we're pushing it back, and it happens to fall on, a time like that, I don't know that I would support pushing it back if that's our first chance for an in-person meeting, because there would be 3 additional meetings following that would be, that would involve voting. So, whether or not John's present at that particular meeting, it wouldn't impact the end result. He would still have 3 chances to vote on it 3 additional times after that, with discussion as well. So, if we are back in person again at that point, then, I think that, we should give the public the opportunity to come in and discuss it.
This is Councilwoman Gordon.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mayor.
I was just going to say, I believe we left it at the next in-depth meeting that we are at face-to-face. Is everybody agreeable to just saying the next meeting that we're all face-to-face and not having to be the next in-depth?
I think it really does need to be an in-depth, because I think you're going to have a lot of information shared by both sides, and it could overload a standard meeting. And I think we have to give it its due. I don't think this is unreasonable from John's request, because we left it sort of open after the last meeting to say could be May, could be April, June. So I think June's probably going to be more realistic. And I think we need the in-depth, but that's just my opinion.
And it will, to Councilman Brackett's point, it will take 3 votes to change this. So it'll have to come up 3 times. So, I guess our option then, if we want to stick with an in-depth, is for it to be May or June, and we may still not be meeting in May. I guess I'll look to you guys for a consensus on what you're thinking.
I suspect it'll be a moot point. This is Councilman Brackett. As far as May goes, I don't expect us to be back in chambers at that point anyway. So, I suspect it'll probably be June anyway.
Yeah, I do too.
Or July.
You know, if I could, this is Councilman Gendrich. You know, if we just say that we're going to discuss this issue at the next meeting when we are seated at City Hall chambers, then that decision could be made within just a couple of days. And, you know, that might interfere with some people's schedules, you know, that want to have viable, and of course everybody's input is important. You know, I shouldn't say that. So I'm a little bit hesitant to go with that. You know, the next meeting when we are all seated in the chambers, it might be kind of just my input. It might be a good idea to maybe try to set somewhat of a firm date, you know, and once again, let me say I apologize for throwing a wrench into this, but either way things are going, the May meeting, as Kelsey or Peggy already said, we may not be meeting then either. So anyway.
So where we're at, I guess, is Councilman Gendrich is asking for consensus to move this then, the pit bull discussion, to the June in-depth meeting and setting that as a firm date as long as we're back in council chambers. Do we have consensus on that or not? I'm gonna go down the line. Councilman Freilich, are you agreeable to move to the June in-depth?
I am. Yes.
Councilman Malcolm?
Yes, Your Honor.
Councilwoman Gordon?
Yes.
Councilman Gendrich? We all know what your answer is.
Well, I think June would be a good target date. And it's a selfish thing to say, but, you know, because of my absence, but I think that's kind of a moot point in some respects too. So June would be good. Sorry, Mayor.
Councilwoman Brocker?
Yes.
Councilman Hopkins?
Sure.
Councilman Brackett?
You've got consensus already, and you've got my opinion already, so it's irrelevant.
Thank you. So we will plan on, and I would like to see, Greg, some information going out on this. To Councilman Gendrich's point, there's a lot of people that are very passionate about this topic on both sides. And while I'm apprehensive about pushing it out even farther, because people have been trying to address this for a long time, and it's unfortunate that all of this has happened and made us have to continue to do this rescheduling. But on the other hand, for a silver lining, it will give everybody an opportunity to know that, Lord willing, the June in-depth meeting is when we will be having a big discussion. I wouldn't plan on having anything else on that agenda, Greg, so don't be going and filling that up.
No, probably not.
And let's get the word out to the public. You know, I mean, this really is a community issue, and everybody having that date, knowing it ahead of time, can prepare accordingly, and hopefully we can have a lively discussion regarding it and work through the problem together as a community. So let's get that scheduled and let's get the word out so people know that it's coming.
I think that's a good
All
point.
right. Thank you. So for communications, Councilwoman Gordon, do you have anything you'd like to share tonight?
Nothing new. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Brockert?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Councilman Malcolm?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor. Thank you.
Councilman Gendrich?
No, Your Honor, thanks.
Councilman Hopkins?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Councilman Brackett?
I just would like to reiterate the appreciation I've got for all of those people that are having to go out into public for their jobs at this point. You know, I'm fortunate enough that for the most part I can self-quarantine, and I'm doing my best to do that, and I would encourage others to as well. When I have gone out, you know, I am seeing a lot of people that are still going out in groups. I'm seeing families going to the store, and, you know, having, you know, raised 2 kids of my own, I understand sometimes it is difficult to make a trip out to the store by yourself. especially if you're a single parent, which I was for a time, and understand that difficulty as well. So I've seen though is when I'm out, I will see 2 adults, then children also tagging along, and this is exactly how we continue spreading this further and further. And so I would encourage people, please follow the guidelines. Please follow the suggestions that have come down. I know that we don't have a stay-in-place order. We don't have a shelter-in-place order from our governor. However, at this point in time, we should act as if we do, unless we absolutely cannot. Because those people that are forced to go out for whatever reason that they cannot stay home, they do not have a choice. And so those of us that do have a choice need to take that option. So that's what I've got to say tonight. I would just strongly encourage people to please do not make this worse. Stay home if you can. And if you have to go out as an individual. Don't go out in a group. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, did you have anything else?
Only that I'd like to applaud the staff, the team, for actually getting into the mode of being social distancing and paying attention to what matters when it comes to this. And I think they're doing an excellent job. We can always do better, but I think we're doing a really good job, and I appreciate them being mindful of that.
Cinda, did you have anything?
Nope, just everybody stay safe.
Thank you. I just had a few things. I wanted to start by asking, I sent out an email earlier today to council, asking them what they think about the in-depth meeting for this month. Do we want to have an in-depth meeting this month, or do we, because it is awkward doing this on the phone or on the computer, I'm getting a plethora of questions every day about city services and what are open and what is not open and what has been modified and what is not modified. Another option was to have department heads come on the call and weigh in on any changes that they're experiencing, as well as far as the services that they're providing in their department. And this, I was just throwing this out for discussion. Does anybody have any ideas or thoughts either way on this?
This is Councilman Brackett. I think we should continue with it, because every chance that every time we utilize this technology, we each get a little more comfortable with it and a little more familiar with it. So I do think that, we should have those meetings. And typically the presentations, if they put the presentation together in advance, it should be pretty easy for Kevin to run it through the screen share. And maybe Kevin could also work with those department heads that would want to share something, and give them the option to screen share within the meeting themselves, so they can control it themselves. I would encourage that they do that they practice it first, but that is an option. You can give other people in the meeting the ability to share their screen instead. So I would encourage us to go ahead and stick with our normal schedule, because it'll just improve things the more we do it.
It is better tonight than it was last time, I'll give you that.
Yes.
Much better.
Any other thoughts? Well, then why don't we go ahead with the in-depth meeting? And I really would ask Greg for some updates from department heads for the public. One thing that abounds, especially with everybody at home right now, is rumor. And so we have a lot of misconceptions and misinformation out there. I thought it would be really nice if department heads could give some kind of an update on their services, and then we could put that out on social media, put it on the website, and people can just reference that, and there's the facts. Something like that, anyway.
I think it's worth the try.
All righty, thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming together and supporting each other through this time. It is awful. We all know it. It's nothing that anybody would want to happen. But Muscatine does always pull through and steps up to the plate, no matter what the situation is, and this is no different. I can tell you, I can remember times for being a child and a young adult listening to my grandpa and my grandma talk about going through the Depression in Muscatine, and people lined up all down 2nd Street just to be able to work for, an hour for 50 cents, and them handing out loaves of bread. And so I know things have been bad before, not where we can remember them like this, but they have been. and we came through them, and we will come through this as well. Please, 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 everyone, follow all of the recommendations and stay home when you can. Make sure to check websites and social media for updates on the services before you try to go out and access them. Please urge your family and friends to make good choices and work as hard as you can to try to keep your youth home. I know it's a struggle. I have grandkids too, and it is, they think they're invincible, but we got to figure out a way to keep these people home and keep them safe. Please refrain from stockpiling and be supportive and kind of each other. Join me in praying for this situation, for those affected, and certainly for the family of the Muscatine woman who lost her life this week as a result of COVID-19. On a positive note, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I know that we all want to do our part to keep children safe. So the ask tomorrow is for everyone to wear blue in support of child abuse prevention. Some of the businesses downtown will have some blue lights up. Big thanks to Brian Chick for arranging some of that. And if you want to take a picture of yourself wearing blue and put it on Facebook with the hashtag Great Childhoods Muscatine, we could get some positive things going around our community. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Mayor?
Kevin, for putting this all together. I know you've had a lot of communications to get out to the public, and it's all been good and timely, and thank you for putting us together. Have a
Mayor?
good week and stay safe and healthy. Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
Did
this
somebody
is
say
Councilman
something?
Brackett. Yeah, I had one thing I
Yes.
needed to ask yet. I apologize. Is it all right for me? I had a question for staff.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I had a resident had reached out to me in regards to the bus passes and the Muscabus scheduling at this point in time. Are we still charging? I know some communities have changed their fees for their public buses. Are we still charging the same for bus passes at this point with the limitations that we have in place?
Nancy, you there?
Maybe we could get some information out on that, because I've had some questions to people that have already purchased a monthly bus pass, but now they can only have a ride once a week, so really they're only getting 4 rides, and those 4 rides are pretty expensive since they've already purchased a whole month. So I'm sure there is some kind. We're going to make sure that it's fair to the community. 100%, the city is going to make sure that we make things right. But the information is not out there yet on how that's going to be adjusted. Can we get something out soon? Because I'm getting several questions as well, and obviously you are too as well, Councilman Brackett.
Mayor, this is Brian.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, Mayor, this is Brian Steinman, Public Works Director. We will get that information out to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep.
And if you could get it to Kevin and make sure he gets it out, because the people there, we do have a lot of people who rely on our bus system. It's a wonderful system, and people depend on it every day. So we didn't take lightly to making a change, but
Right.
yeah, get that information out there on how the fees will be adjusted.
Yep, absolutely. This has been a fluid issue with the transit system, but we're doing the best we can, and we will have the information tomorrow as soon as we can.
Sounds
Thank you,
great.
Brian.
Thank you. Hearing nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Gordon, so moved.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening.